Thank you, Dr. Tyagarajan, for the kind words. I don't know how much I deserve those words. Friends, at the 73rd Annual National Conference of Indian Association of Occupational Health, we need to talk on the first day of this conference on the crucial issue that the world is faced with today. That is workplace health, well-being, and that is the most significant part of it, the environmental sustainability. Whenever we talk of workplace health and well-being, one cannot detach oneself from the topic of environmental sustainability. And also, it is important to prepare ourselves for the future-ready organizations, because India is on a path for being a global leader by 2047. And this journey has already started, and we are sitting right here in the center of New Delhi. And this is most appropriate that this journey is conceptualized and consensus arrived at on this very important issue in this very conference. And this association should make a recommendation to WHO and World Health Organization, of course, but more importantly to the Government of India, which is going to lead the entire transformation process. When we talk of a sense of satisfaction that with the modern employee being more conscious about their carbon footprint than ever, a sustainable modern working space makes everyone feel at ease about their own impact on the environment. This results in a happier workforce that is genuinely glad to come to office every day. A workforce that is contributing to their own and by extension to the wellness of the planet. So transform your workplace into a happier, healthier, and more sustainable one. This is one visual. Second visual, third visual would follow, fourth and fifth visual will follow. But before that, we must understand what exactly is a sustainable workplace. A sustainable workplace is one that balances its people, its profit, and the planet. The three things: people, profit, and the planet. To produce not only success, but also viability in the long run. Since 2020, a focus on the well-being of employees, Andrew very rightly mentioned, and he took at the right time the charge in one of the best universities in the world at NUS. And from his data, you would agree with me now, employees went from nice to have to a true business imperative. Employers must connect with what they say to what they actually do. So there's no divergence between what you say and what you actually do. A sustainable workplace focuses on both the environmental as well as human well-being factors. These then have a significant impact on increasing profits, reducing operational costs, and while also being sensitive to the planet. This is the third visual I want to share with you. This is another visual of a sustainable workplace, another workplace, and a transformative workplace, a workplace which you enjoy going, which you enjoy working. So work and life balance is attainable without destroying the planet. Employee engagement is a major driver of performance. An engaged employee feels mentally connected to the job, is committed to goals, and willing to put in discretionary effort, which automatically leads to organizational growth. According to a recent well-being at work survey more than 50% of organizations offer benefits such as health screenings, health awareness, meditation sessions, or basic health insurance to their employees. However, a large percentage, that 65%, find it challenging to engage employees in such plans, with only 24% having an average employee participation rate of more than 50%. How do we ensure that this does not remain only 24%, this feeling that this is not happening? So, in this conversation that I'm going to have now, I'm going to talk about the future of workplace well-being and environmental sustainability. And in the end, I shall share with you a conceptual model on what is the 2022 model on the entire aspect that I'm talking about regarding future workplaces. The time of one-off programs such as yoga session or on yoga day or a mental well-being talk is over. The future belongs to workplace well-being programs that are documented, have a dedicated budget and team, and are enabled by technology. These programs also have a diverse calendar of initiatives are run throughout the year. This is a very busy slide. I'll take you deeper into this issue when I take you to the next slide. But suffice it to say that there is a good work framework. And at the bottom left, if you look at it, who created this good work framework? It is the World Economic Forum 2022. So it is not produced by people who only own the organization, some people who make the policy. It is the people who manage the entire organizational framework. And what do you find? You find promoting fairness on wages and technology, providing flexibility and protection, delivering health and well-being, drive diversity and equity inclusion, and foster employability and learning culture. So on this aspect, you have got core goals and expanded goals on the right side of this framework. So safeguarding, expanding, and also ensuring that through expanded goals, you are on your journey and somebody is guiding you. People who not only manage organizations, but people who not only own organizations, they, as a consensus, have evolved the good work framework. Currently, the same thing is being developed right now when we're talking here in Davos in the World Economic Forum. And this is the product of World Economic Forum last year, and entire world developing and developed together attained this consensus on the good work framework. I will talk a particular aspect of what you saw on the left in the previous slide is the good work. What is a good work? Good work is a healthy, equitable, resilient, and human-centric future of work, respecting fundamental rights across in-person, hybrid, and virtual work for all workers. So how the definition changed, how our thinking changes, and how consensus is reached is shown in this slide. And what is composing this good work? So those are the components. There are 5 components. The 5 components are promoting fairness on wages and technology, provide flexibility and protection, deliver on health and well-being, drive diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also foster employability and learning culture. This becomes the fundamental driver. Now, I'll take up the number 1 issue of promoting fair pay and social justice. Setting a base for wages that enables people to live with dignity and provide for themselves and their families is critical for workforce sustainability. And without this, nothing can happen. But the cost of living crisis has highlighted again the problem of low wages, which force many people to take additional jobs or work excessive hours to make ends meet. You must be seeing the talk about moonlighting. You're compelled to work with 2 organizations or 3 work organizations. So minimum wages exist for 90% of ILO member states, but in many countries and in India, they fall short of what is needed to support a decent standard of living. And we must transform this situation. Provide flexibility and protection. Hybrid work with the emerging norm for a significant proportion of the workforce offers benefits of workforce sustainability. Also, we must understand that it can improve in retention. It has shown to help digital workers achieve higher, greater productivity. And third, it is improved diversity. On this process, through this process, we must understand you cannot have a static and non-protective workplace now. You have to be flexible and you must ensure protection. Now, we've reached the center of the entire good work framework. It is delivering on health and well-being. The focus is on delivering, not thinking about it, not theorizing about it, but actually ensuring health and well-being framework. As you know, ILO estimates that around 2 million people die from work-related causes each year, while a survey in September 20 showed that 34% of workers in the US screened positive for depression and 57% were not fully engaged in their work. Delivering on health and well-being benefits companies by increasing employee retention and trust and supporting the productivity. That's the center of this good work framework. But this center has support from driving diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's why it formed the base. Number 4 and number 5 are directed to ensure health and well-being at the workplace. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. It is not DIE, but DEI. DIE is not there, but DEI, which means diversity, equity, and inclusion. Through this process, we ensure that significant demographic and social changes happen. And COVID-19 has exposed and exacerbated the disadvantages faced by currently underrepresented groups across businesses. Driving DIE allows companies to engage, energize, attract, and retain talent. This is the major advantage that DEI, not DIE, should happen across all organizations. Fifth framework, which is the base, is the foster employability and a learning culture. Through fostering a culture of employability and learning culture, we ensure that automation and digitalization, so to say, become a norm for workplace as well. With diverse workforce and the green transition, we ensure that people learn new skills. New skills because the job situation is changing every day. The previous skills required are no longer required by the organization for their success. So everybody across the hierarchy of the workplace will have to acquire new skills. Through automation and digitalization, this shall be ensured. Ensuring workforce sustainability requires organizations to promote good work, not just for their employees, but also for their extended workforce. That is, gig workers, the neglected workforce. Gig workers are the most neglected today in the world. What happens to somebody who is unprotected, uncared for, and more than 1 billion people globally are today gig workers? Who is going to look after the gig workers? They are less protected by regulation. They have hardly any safety nets and workers in supply chains. More than 615 million people globally are working without scrutiny. When we talk of works and culture and well-being and sustainability, have we thought something about it? What is the framework for these people? So you cannot say we do not care. We have to care. The people who have the resources have to care for these people, the gig workers. Making good work a reality is another. For that, you require leadership, workforce technology, and reporting. Leadership requires human-centric leaders. Workforce technology requires a range of solutions combining digital tools, data, analytics, and supporting talent management, and also enabling workforce sustainability. Reporting requires workforce disclosures and a growing component of ESG and corporate reporting. Now, this is the framework which existed in 2016. All of us may be aware of this framework, and I will drive you towards the 2022 framework for integrated approach to protection and promotion of workers' health and safety. This was published in 2016. You find conventional way of looking at the work situation and looking at work and well-being. On your right, you find enterprise outcomes and worker outcomes. In the center are conditions of work and worker proximal outcome. On the left are enterprise, workplace policies, programs, practices, and worker and workforce. But as we progress, this expanded conceptual framework came to be accepted globally sometime in 2018 or 19. Now, if you look at the previous framework, that continued to be part of the enterprise. But employment and labor patterns and social, political, and economic environment became equally important for sustainability. You cannot hope your enterprise is going to grow for longer periods, or you can earn profit, or you can ensure that your enterprise evolves unless you also take care of these factors. But does it explain, or does it explain everything for 2022 workplace? Or when we go ahead till 2047, what is the conceptual framework that we can think of which is contemporary? So we, of course, have seen this transformation. Increasingly, ESG is being talked about. What is ESG? Environmental, social, and governance. When we talk about environmental, it is environmental policy, performance, climate change, resource depletion, and biodiversity. What is social? Social is work policies, employee experience, universal design, and wellness and safety. But on the governance side, we have ethics, policy, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Again, you see DI, and accountability. Now, this model, ESG framework, has become so popular that today you cannot operate an organization without adhering to ESG principles. So, climate emergency, climate crisis, eco-anxiety, and extinction have become a reality, which 10 years back people were not even thinking about. But today, everybody thinks about these aspects before having his organization functioning. Many organizations have had to change their business and operating model to deal with the market forces which require more sustainable products and services. This has meant that occupational health in these businesses is serving organizations at the leading edge of the transformation towards a green economy, or are seizing the opportunity to innovate to accelerate this change. Other organizations are proactively linking action on climate and health to strengthen their organizations, their strategy and success, and are using technical expertise to advise their businesses. Leading for health requires occupational health practitioners that they influence the organization's strategic leadership, help them to understand the important links between climate change and health, providing evidence of what works, and by designing health linked to climate action into organizational culture, strategy, governance, organizational processes, and everyday decision making. So that ultimately a culture that values human and planetary health underpins and contributes to organizational or commercial success. Look at the way the whole concept, whole thought process has changed. And it has changed in our lifetime. And this is going to change in future. We must be always prepared to accept the change and adhere to the change, and also have reskilling incorporated in our thought process. Now, this is another way of looking at the entire thing. Internal operations, mindsets, and employee policies, products and services and supply chains with an overarching, over-encompassing, enclosing wider enabling environment, policy, research, influencers, standards, and partnerships. The words which were not even thought of that they impact organizational success and growth and sustainability have today become a norm. People are able to accept the words which were not even in the remotest mind are now in the center of governance at the organizational levels. So for advocating health and climate action, occupational health works across sectors, and its expertise means it is well placed to influence a broad range of organizations to act on climate and health. By joining up across professional organizations and sectors, occupational health could be a powerful tool for change. A specific opportunity is to influence the governance and accountability frameworks, the strengthening health and well-being metrics in emerging ESG reporting so that their own importance is recognized and the value of linking to the action on the climate change is appreciated and not in the longer run overshadowed by it. So we as occupational professionals have to understand this framework, which is 2022 model. How within the last 6 years, the entire thought process has changed, evolved, and unless we keep pace with this change process and understand the nuances, the components of this conceptual model, we would be left behind. We become extinct. So if you have to survive, you've got to understand this, because this is what the global consensus framework for organizational, future-ready organization is all about. So what is it that this model has? This model has a few components which I would like to highlight for you. Where's the pointer? Pointer. Now, at the base, if you see, at the base is safety, health, and well-being. Thriving for work, thriving from work, mental health, burnout, work-home imbalance, and health behaviors. At the base, you saw how the change has occurred? So the topic for the theme for this conference is at the base. But you see the arrows, it takes inputs from worker characteristics, demographics, occupation, training, and skills, and also take input from conditions of work, job demands, job redesign, social connection and support, work environment, remote and hybrid work. This impacts safety and health and well-being. And also, only through these three components, you have the outcome. But you cannot ignore resilience, productivity, turnover, and culture of health. This component becomes the bottom corner, not the center. Not the center. And also, on the left top, in the enterprises component has come up in participatory organization policies and practices. So this framework is the bottom half. See the change? I previously showed you two frameworks. This is the current 2022 framework. On the top of the enterprise is the employment and labor patterns. It has social and health disparities, race and ethnicity, gender, education, caregiver status, disability, age, and wage. But in addition, it also has public health, public policy and health, data collection and analysis, retraining and reskilling, paid leave, and worker protections. How the change has occurred. You can perceive the change in the process of thinking. And that's why this theme of this conference. Social and political economic environment is at the top. It has three components. One is globalization. You cannot ignore globalization as a process impacting enterprises. So, thought process has to become globalized. Country location, supply chain issues, changing consumer demands, Technology advancements, automation, e-commerce, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robotics cannot be ignored today. They come at the top because you got to accept these changes. And also, after globalization, technology, in the socio, political, and economic environment is the redistribution of jobs. Redistribution of jobs. When redistribution of jobs occur, can you say, I would not reskill, I would not upskill? You got to do it because you got to prepare that all enterprises survive. Emerging jobs and skills, closures and job losses, non-standard work arrangement. Non-standard work arrangements, people don't like it. Non-standard work arrangement. We used to old times working. But can you survive and grow if you don't grow? Can you think of growing yourself if your thought process does not grow? So you cannot even visualize health, well-being, and environmental sustainability for future-ready organizations unless all of us imbibe in our thought process, in our practices, and actually ensuring that these things are part of our culture, our ability to manage not only ourselves, our colleagues, our organization, our leadership. So this entire framework is at the center of this conference. That's why today, in the forenoon of 19th of January, the first day of the conference, we started this. And we hope that people will talk about it, think about it, and produce a consensus report at the end of this conference to be presented to the Government of India for its engagement, for ensuring that our organization grows and it has the capability to impact policy on not only health or not only employment, but also environmental sustainability, for ensuring what? For ensuring that India becomes a global leader and a developed nation by 2047. And this journey has just started. 2023 to 2047 is all going to make a remarkable difference in your lives, and not only in your lives, but your children's lives. And it is highly symbolic that the fly past is happening at the same time. Thank you so much for your attention.